Am I straight?
I mean, about as straight as you're gonna be.
All right. I wanted to share what happened today. MLK Day, Martin Luther King Jr.
Doctor.
The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The first time in a while. You want to share your
Yes.
happy
12 years. 12 long years I waited to celebrate the late, great MLK by not working or going to class. 12 long years.
I just want to hop into it. About a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, I was just contacted to see if I would speak at an event tonight. And this event took place in a garage where a guy named Rusty Buck, such a cool name.
Is that his real name?
Rusty?
Rusty Buck.
I think so. Yeah.
They're like a really cool couple.
They
I
are.
can't believe that's his real name.
I think it's his real name.
Interesting.
Rusty Buck. So he has this idea that he just wanted to bring someone in today to share their experiences, their thoughts on racism in America, where we came from, when Dr. King marched and what they fought for back then, and kind of where we are now in 2018. So he had this idea, just a barbershop style. So he had two barbers come in, and he invited the people that he knew, a lot of his friends and their sons, and they all came to the garage and got their haircuts. And halfway through it, Rusty put on the last 5 minutes of the MLK I Have a Dream speech, and afterwards he asked me to come up, and I shared a story with the kids, because it was a group of young sons that were from about 6 to 12 and years old sorry 6 to 12 years old. And I just shared a story about when I was young and when I played baseball, and how I thought that I was friends with a lot of white kids, and I found out that they were talking about me and making racist jokes behind my back. So I took sports, which engages little boys, and I just took them through a lesson of what to do when you hear someone making racist jokes. They could say something, or they could say, hey, knock it off, or I would appreciate if you don't say that, because we kind of did go over, being silent is not the route to take. If you're silent, it kind of gives them license to continue to do it. So by saying something, they're less likely to do it again, at least around you. So we had some time with the young kids. They asked great questions, very insightful for their age. They asked me, how did it make you feel, Mr. Gary, when you found out that they were talking about you behind your back? And I told them, mad, sad, confused, because these were supposed to be my friends. So then little kids went out, they got dismissed, and then all the dads came back around, and I just shared some experiences and stories about racism and my journey, but also gave them challenges and what to do to expose their children to a diverse culture, to other cultures. So before I went, though, I had the thought, like, wow, am I the token black person for the MLK Day? And am I just being asked because this is something that somebody wants to check off their box and say that they did something great? And I didn't feel like that was the case. I met with Rusty beforehand, and we had a great open conversation, and I was able to hear Rusty's heart behind the whole matter, behind bringing his friends and inviting their sons to discuss what is such a huge topic in our nation. And here you have this white guy who sees the importance of a discussion and exposing his children to different cultures, to different people, that he is doing what so many people need to do.
And so few do.
And when he's not only doing it in his family, but he's inviting those people that are around him that trust him. And yes, he brought in somebody that was black, and wanted, and it was very purposeful about it. And that's not a bad thing.
It wasn't like a check the box move, like, oh,
Yeah.
I did my good deed, you know, I had a black person over so they could talk
The
about
token.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's checked off. It was like very intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what can I do to open my children's eyes, expose them to what they wouldn't otherwise know?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times it's just lack of knowledge that people say or do things that are racist, if you will. It's just lack of knowledge, lack of experience, lack of exposure. It's very easy to say there's no issue, people are being oversensitive, they're just taking this too far. It's very easy to say and do those things when you've never had a personal experience. When you've never been judged by the color of your skin, when someone hasn't responded to you based on the color of your skin and not the content of your character. And it's interesting, I feel like I bring up the marriage thing a lot too, because marriage is really important to us and we talk about it a lot, and marriage is important to the Lord. But it made me think of marriage because oftentimes there's conflict because you are not putting yourself in the other person's shoes and literally seeing it through their eyes. And there are so many conflicts that could be resolved better, more quickly, more sincerely if you literally put yourself in that person's shoes and understand from their perspective. And a lot of times you can't do that until you listen to them, until you understand where they're coming from,
until you're intentional, until you make yourself uncomfortable. And Rusty said, like, it was uncomfortable for him.
Oh, really? To reach out to you or to yeah, because it's so much easier just to stay in a very comfortable bubble where you don't have to talk about race, because race is uncomfortable.
The whole
It's sin. I mean, it's sin. Satan has taken something beautiful, different shades and colors and pigments that God created, taken something beautiful and distorted it and made the division ugly. Ugly. And so no one wants to talk about it. Rightfully so. It's uncomfortable. Kudos, because he doesn't have to do that. The reality is, when you're not reminded of your race every day and you don't have these not so pleasant experiences, you could choose to stay that way and go on about your life.
And he's shaking it up, like him and Kelly, just the vision that he has. He's not just stopping at MLK Day. He's not stopping at Black History Month. Like, he's even set a date 5 months from now to come back to the barbershop, to come back and have a conversation about what God's been teaching the people that were there tonight about race and about what their response to it is going to be. And Rusty's even said that he's going to do things like not put his kid in the county league and put his kid in the city league, to surround his kids with a different group of people. He's going to go into, instead of going to Raising Cane's, he might go to Church's Chicken after church on Sunday. So he's really being proactive, and he's not just keeping it in-house. He is literally turning to his friends and saying, will you guys come with me? Will you guys go through this journey with me? And would you expose your sons and your daughters and your wives to this topic? And so my hat goes off to Rusty. I was so glad to do it. And then when I got home, just processing, just is how enemy works. It's just, I was sitting back and I was just thinking all the things that I could have, should have done, and how I could have said this differently, and how, man, what did they get anything out of it? Was I just the token for tonight? And like, just there in my thoughts, my wife started sharing, because I hadn't shared. We were just sitting here having quiet time and about to spend time with Jesus, or spending time with Jesus. We had been worshiping, and then she had started to say something and I'll let you share because it relates to God's chosen us to be able to be the bridges when it comes to racial relationships. So, good.
It's interesting, a thought that popped in my head when you were saying, of the token. I had the thought of, so what? The Lord can do whatever he wants to do with whomever he wants to do it. Mm-hmm. And if you were, even though this situation wasn't one, but even in the situations where we are, have been, and probably will be tokens, God uses that for his good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He definitely can use it. He's like, okay. Yep. And so when we were worshiping, we were playing Chasing After You by Ty Trippett. And sometimes I'll get like a picture illustration or something will come up in my head during worship time. And the picture that came in my head was the house where you guys had the event tonight. I just saw the house and it was just representing the event that happened tonight. And, I had the thought of, man, so random. How did Gary end up with this couple, this family, at this house, in this neighborhood, talking about Martin Luther King and our story? Like, so random. Like, how do you even end up in this mix? Like, you met the guy, less than a week ago? Yeah. I'm like, how in the world you end up there? So random. Like, that was the thought. So random. And then I had this picture of clouds, time elapsing. So it was representing like days, weeks, months, however long. A lot of time passing. Time. Sun up, sun down, sun up, sun down. And I started thinking about the words of the song that we're playing. I'll forever be chasing after you. And I realized our responsibility and our role is literally to chase after Jesus, after the Lord. We're just chasing him. Just chasing him. Day in, day out. Chasing him. That's what we want to do. Pursue him. Mm-hmm. And those random occurrences, those random things that happen, they're going to keep happening. They're not random. Yeah. Right. They're not random. Those things will continue to happen. But our responsibility, our role, our pursuit is him. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like it's really easy to get caught up in like, oh man, how do we market? How do we, build this and make something great out of it? And how do we set this up and turn this into something that's like, I'll forever be chasing after you. I'll be chasing after you.
Let's sing, girl.
Man, vocals. me.
The verse that popped in my head was, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added unto you. And again, that's what we're doing. We're seeking God's kingdom. We don't have to worry about all the moving parts. He will literally bring them together like he did today. Like, it was random. Mm-hmm. That I'm sitting here on MLK Day talking about my experience and my feelings to a group of white men and their white sons. One son was African American because he was adopted, but that's an awesome story behind it. Only God could do that. Mm-hmm. Only he can orchestrate something like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm very thankful to all the men that were there tonight, to their sons. Thankful again to Rusty for having the boldness and the courage. Tonight was special, and we'll continue to do God's work because we know that he called us to do this, to be bridge builders. Mm-hmm. And God will get the increase. So that was today, MLK, my first speaking engagement. Hopefully the Lord will bring me many more, but very thankful, and hope you guys enjoy. Leave your comments below. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Excuse me. If you like it, share it. See you guys later.